Hello YouTube. After careful consideration, I have decided to reveal that I have the two neuropsychiatric diagnoses Asperger's syndrome and ADD, that stands for attention deficit disorder. I'm 34 years of age. I'm born in 1982. I work as a high school teacher in computing subjects and electronics in a small high school where people also appreciate the positive sides of this diagnosis. I've also worked in places where people don't appreciate the positive sides of this diagnosis, and I think it's a shame because many people with this diagnosis has a lot to offer when it comes to dedication, hard work and in-depth knowledge, and unfortunately it's also a trend in society that people with Asperger's syndrome don't have regular jobs to the degree that they should have. For example, in Sweden, where I live, people with Asperger's syndromes are sometimes placed in things like you would call something like a daycare center for adults, where you make pottery and paint things. I'm not saying that it can't be good for someone who is not able to work and needs to get out and see people, but I think more companies should be started which embrace the positive sides with people who has Asperger's syndrome and give them jobs which match their talents, instead of just putting them, even if it's only one day a week, it's better than putting them in a daycare center. I don't have anything against mentally disabled people or people who has a developmental disorder that leads to less than normal intelligence, which you would call retardation or something like that. I don't have anything against them. I just feel that for normally or highly gifted people with Asperger's syndrome, it does not give them justice to place them with people who are not on the same level, and many people with Asperger's syndrome also feel that way. I am disclosing this information for a few reasons. The first thing is that I've read lots about Asperger's syndrome, and I'm very willing and interested in the research of it. So if you're Asperger research, you are very welcome to contact me, and I'm very willing to participate in most kinds of studies which don't involve too much pain. And I also have some theories on my own. I'm not a trained cognitive scientist, but since one of my greatest interests has been computers for the last 20 years, I have a reasonably good understanding of electronics, systems, and things like that. But by no means I would call myself a highly trained expert, but an amateur. And I've also read an entire book on systems theory. I'm trying to make, when I have time, a summary of systems theory without lots of mathematical formulas. I have posted a summary on LinkedIn, but perhaps someday it will be ready. Another reason is that right now I'm working with high school teaching, and I really like it, but someday in the future I would like to work with research on autism or Asperger's syndrome, and someday in the future I perhaps also would like to lecture on this thing from a scientific standpoint. I would like to mention a few people that in the Nordic countries that are an inspiration to people with Asperger's syndrome. One, for example, is Paula Tilli, who is a Finnish woman, roughly 30-something, late 30s, who has written a few books on Asperger's syndrome, and her blog is quite popular. What I will try to make, I will see when I have time, I will try to make lectures perhaps on autism and Asperger's syndrome from a more scientific standpoint. Paula Tilli is a very good author, and she has great talents with languages, and she makes quite vivid descriptions of what it's like, the emotional side of having a diagnosis. But I will try to make something a little bit different and more scientific, because I've not seen so much of that. And of course I'm also disclosing this information to make people more aware of what Asperger's syndrome and autism is. And I think that if you understand more and learn more, perhaps there will be less prejudice against these disorders. I don't blame everyone, especially not young people. I work with young people every day. They don't have the entire knowledge and understanding of an adult. Sometimes I've seen students not harassing, but some calling someone with Asperger's he's stupid. But then again, they're young, they don't understand everything as I did either when I was a teen. So I don't blame, and I also don't blame people who don't have an understanding for having prejudice, and I think you gain a better understanding through listening and comprehending. However, I feel that it's bad. Unfortunately, it has happened to me. Perhaps I will divulge the details later, but I will not right now. But I think it's bad, and also on a general scale, when authorities and people of authority, like bosses and teachers perhaps, and governments and things like that, use a diagnosis as a reason to not help someone enough, or say that this is a hopeless case, this person will never amount to anything, and things like that. So that I think is bad, and especially when you have the knowledge and the understanding of this disorder, then it's even worse. But I don't blame average people who have prejudice against this, because it has also happened to me that I've tried explaining many times what it is, and even in my own family, sometimes people don't really understand this. And I don't blame them, so then again, I don't blame regular people who have prejudice or don't understand this thing. And I've met many people and I've tried to explain and they still don't understand. But I hope that they will try, and I think it's good that if you have a prejudice, that you learn more, and perhaps your prejudice and your bad opinions on this subject will decrease. But enough, this will probably be a very long video, but enough about moral reasons